Why do I do this to myself? I'm just like exposing all the washing I need to do. But yes, that is my towel. It can stay there. I think you can still see that. But you know what? I'm in the middle of moving to a different country, so we can deal with it. Oh, it's also very warm. Hang on. Okay. Let's do this, ignoring the fact that there's definitely clashes, but it's okay. Welcome to me wrapping up 2022 series that I have DNF'd and series that I have started and want to continue reading next year. I'm not going to go into what the series are about. If you want to know more about what the series are about, just look them up. I'm basically telling you to do your homework. I'll put the pictures up of the books here. If I went into what the series are about, we would be here for days because I have a lot to get through. I love a good series. I read more series than I would say I read standalones for surezies. They're just my bread and butter. I love how series let you get into a book and get knowing the character, and especially if it's if it's a series with a romance subplot and you see it develop and the pining, and then like when they finally kiss for the first time, like a fantasy world, and you've spent so much time learning about the world, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're like in it. It's a movie. I just love series. So first, I'm going to share with you the series that I'm going to continue reading, and at the end, I will have the series I have DNF'd. Okay, so I have combined all the Grishaverse books together, and I have only one book left to read, and that is, sorry, I've got my laptop down here, The Rule of Wolves. I have read every single other book in the series, and I read King of Scars specifically this year. Rule of Wolves, one I really want to get to, and then I'll be able to say I've read the entire Grishaverse world. The Invisible Library is a series I discovered, I feel like it was at the end of last year when Titus, my fiance, it's so weird saying that out loud, when he did like a random choose books for me that he thought I would like from the library themed vlog, and I absolutely delved into this series. There are 8 books in total, and I have read up to the second to last currently published one. So I have read up to Secret Chapter. I have one left, and I'm just waiting for it to be like when I'm in a reading slump, because that series really gets me out of reading slumps. And then there is another book that is meant to be published soon, but it hasn't yet been published. So 2 books left in that one. I'm going to keep going with the fantasy series. Next up we have Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. This took Instagram booktube by storm, and I read the first one in like 48 hours and I loved it. Sorry, I read both of them in 48 hours. I actually have a What the Hype video. I definitely need to bring that series back. There's so many hyped books I want to like analyse. But I have actually done a vlog on both of those books and I absolutely loved them. And so I think, if I am correct, there are 2 more books out in that series, with another 2 to be published. So there's 6 in total. The reason why I haven't continued reading them is partially because they're so big, but they're always out at the library, and then I've like done a lot of internal intrinsic thinking and realised I don't want to be buying as many books as I do, and those books cost a lot of money, so I'm just waiting for the library basically, and they're always out, understandably. The Witcher series, which I actually have here behind me, I have read the first 2 books, Blood of Elves and Time of Contempt. I will admit I haven't picked up the next one in that series because Time of Contempt, the like official first book, sorry I have a hair, was very heavy. Not in terms of content, in terms of how it felt like the dialogue was written. There was a lot going on, and so basically I'm a little bit scared to continue with the series, but I really, really want to finish that series, and I will. The next one is the what's it called? Hell's Library by A.J. Hackworth. I have only read the first book, Library of the Unknown, but I really liked it. There are 2 more books in that series. If you love fantasy books about books, definitely consider checking this one out. Next up, I have Ember in the Ashes. Now, this is such a, I want to say famous, I think popular is the more accurate word, such a popular series. And basically, I remember when they came out, well, when they started to get big about 5 years ago, when I just started bookstagramming, actually. It was about 5 years ago now. God. Nothing to make you feel old, like realising you've been doing something for the same amount of time it takes you to finish high school. Anyway, and I remember loving them, and then a classic thing that I experienced with fantasy series is the second and third books aren't as strong, and I just stopped reading them. So Ember in the Ashes, I got up to Reaper at the Gate, so I only have the last one left, but I cannot really remember anything that happened, so I feel like I technically need to do a reread of the first 3 books and then finish them. Next up is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I just have Dark Dawn to finish, and I'm pretty sure I said that in like my last series wrap-up video. Just last one to finish, but I really want to read it. I love J. Kristoff's writing. I know that a lot of people find his description of characters, especially women, quite concerning, but each to their own. I quite like his books. Next up is the Mistborn Trilogy. I'm saying trilogy. I'm just, sorry, keep checking my notes to make sure I've got it right. The Mistborn Trilogy. So I've read Final Empire, and I have the last 2 in that trilogy to read, and I'm calling it a trilogy because when you look at the Mistborn saga, everything... oh, this top keeps riding up. Kinky. No, Bethany. Stop. Today was my second to last day of work. Tomorrow is just staff farewells, and I'm feeling the freedom. I do want to keep reading these books. I absolutely loved the first book. I can remember everything that happened. It's just they're big books, and I guess I read some other books instead of that one, like J. Kristoff's Empire of the Vampire I got through recently, and there was another big book I read instead, which I cannot remember now. But yeah, I've just been basically... I only have stamina for so many big books, you know, and I just didn't do those. I did different ones instead. The next one is the Kingkiller series, basically the same situation as Brenton Sanderson. I only have the, well, I say only, the 3rd book has since been published, so I've only read the first one now. There's 2 more books for me to read. And the first book in the series I thought was fine, but I didn't love it heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps. So that was... I guess they're such big books. This is a series I've considered DNFing, but I actually owned the 2nd book. So I'm going to try keep reading, give that middle book of the trilogy a go. Continuing again with all of these fantasy ones, you can see there's so many, as I mentioned at the beginning. We have the Shades of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have read Dark Shade of Magic, and I know this is a much loved series, but I remember reading the first book and thinking it was overhyped, but I still really enjoyed it. I think I didn't continue reading the series because I then read her Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Again, I think I did I do a What the Hype episode on that? If I did, I'll throw the thumbnail up here so you can find it if you want. And I'll try to remember to link it down below. But, oh, my elbow needs to click. But, I didn't like Addie LaRue all that much. And so I think I was just kind of put off V.E. Schwab. But she's got lots of books that I loved. So... yeah, we'll get there. All of these are series I want to get to eventually. So then continuing on with the fantasy, I have started the Red Rising saga, which I describe as the Hunger Games, but more mature. That's not fantasy. The Farseers trilogy, I read Assassin's Apprentice and Royal Assassin, so I just have Assassin's Quest, which is the last one in that first trilogy. This whole saga gives me the same vibes as the Mistborn series, in that the Mistborn series has a whole world and like lots of little trilogies and what do you call a quad series? A quadrilogy? A quad series? Just a series, a 4-book series that make up the whole world. And from what I understand, the Farseer world is very similar. Crescent City, I have read House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath, and it's just a side note here, when that 3rd book comes out, I'll probably read it straight away. However, if you have read all of Sarah J. Maas's books and you got to the end of House of Sky and Breath, there's very much a massive, one of the most biggest, bad English, but whatever, plot twists, if that's the right word, ever. And if you want to talk about it, hit me up on Insta, because I don't know if I'm a fan of what's happening. And I feel like maybe it's like a little bit of a cranky old woman in me who doesn't want that. But I guess I'm nervous about where that series is going to go from here. Wheel of Time is one that I almost DNF'd and put on the DNF series. However, I'm still really curious because I hear it gets even better. So, famous well-known fantasy series, much loved by many people, and I read the first book and I thought it was slow, basically. I enjoyed it, but I thought it was super slow. And then when I watched the television series, the TV series is so completely different to the book series. It got me really mad and got me like loyal to the book series. I think that tells you a little bit about my personality when it comes to books and their adaptations. But yeah, I almost DNF'd that series, but then I figured so many people love it. I'll just read the second book and see how it goes. But that is a big series, and if I don't love the second book, I'm just going to put that time into reading the Mistborn or the Farseer series, because those books so far I really do like. Empire of the Vampire, the second to last fantasy here. Empire of the Vampire, like I mentioned, I read it, I loved it. There is 2 more books coming out. That is part of a trilogy. So when they come out, I will be reading those. And Mercenary Librarians, Deal with the Devil. Oh my god, if you guys want like a smutty librarian quest fighting girl group v boy group, and then they kind of like romantic interests, oh my god, read this. I loved it. One of my favourite books this year. Just one of those books where for me, I was just absorbed cover to cover. I was in a moment of the year where I wasn't reading much, and this really got me out of that reading slump. And I believe, so there's 3 girls and like, I can't remember how many guys, but the main girl group is 3 girls, and I'm pretty sure each book is from a different one of their perspectives. Think of it like, oh my gosh, the Brown Sisters trilogy, but in like dystopia, and they collect books and stuff. So good. So that is it for fantasy series I want to continue reading. You'll notice that there is definitely a theme in the most series I read being fantasy, because the next ones are like thriller action, and there's definitely less of those. So thrillery, actiony, is that the right, how do I want to, maybe dystopia is a better label. So kind of like a subgenre of fantasy, I suppose, but dystopia. We have the Legend series by Marie Lu that I have read the first 2 books of, and I really remember like quite vividly what happened in the first book, which is rare for me. So I might have to reread the second book, and then I do want to finish reading that series. Marie Lu has quite a few books out that I really like. Warcross I read and I liked it. Her second book in that series, Wildcard, let me down a little bit, but overall I quite enjoy her writing. Chaos Walking by Patrick Ness. I've read the first one, I have the other 2 to go. I think this is a bit of a mashed potato. If you listen to Ariel Bissett, and I always forget the other girl's name and I feel so bad about it, they have a podcast that I used to listen to quite a bit, and they introduced this phrase to me in the concept of their favourite food. One of the ladies' favourite foods was mashed potatoes, so they would leave it to the end of their dinner, but then they were full and so they couldn't finish it, and it was like a childhood conundrum for them. And then they talked about books being mashed potato books that you are sure you're gonna love, but you just keep putting them off because like you're full already, if that makes sense. And then The Handmaid's Tale. I really want to read Testaments, partially because I'm curious that the second book in a series came so long after the first book, and I know there was a lot of conversation about it being a cash grab, and like low-key that's what it looks like from an outsider's perspective. But I also didn't love Handmaid's Tale. I know, controversial. I thought it was okay. One of those books where I don't think enough happens for my fantasy loving heart. Like, I want more action. I started to read, now we're going into mystery. I started to read the Robert Langdon series, the Dan Brown series, and I read Angels and Demons. I have the illustrated copy edition. What was I saying then? A copy? I have the illustrated edition of the first 2 books in that series, and if you know where I can get the illustrated editions for the rest of that series, please let me know, because these books are based in places I've never been before and have so much historical context that the pictures help me so much with understanding what's happening. And if you can get your hands on the illustrated editions, I found the first 2 in thrift shops, and since I've been back to thrift shops, I keep seeing them, so they're out there. I highly recommend, because especially the first book, when it's all about Illuminati and the upside down, back to fronty, reedy fonts. It's fascinating to see them on a page. And when they were going through Italy and looking at other places, I've not been to Italy. Oh, I feel like I'm speaking really fast. I'm sorry. It was really cool, and so I definitely want to keep reading that series. And then the other like mystery one is the In Death series by J.D. Robb. If you've been watching me for a wee while now, you know this is my guilty pleasure series. I'm up to book 11. This is book 11, Judgment in Depth. There are 57 and still going. I see that there's still like another 3 to be published. Like, she churns them out ridiculously fast. I just love this so much, and I've just realised that's a picture of like Eve Dallas, our main character, which I've not seen before. The last kind of genre, I suppose. Oh, sorry, no. Another one in that series, I actually don't have it in my list. I need to add it to my list, is the... I don't know what the series is called, but it's like 1 to get deadly, 2 to get even, 3 to get blah, blah, blah by Janet Ivanovic. This started off as a random series that I just started to read, and then it kind of falls into the same category as the J.D. Robb series, in which it's just fun, serialized kind of series. Those 2 series are there for like when I just want something quick and easy to read. So yeah, and then the last one I have here for you is the only romance one I have on here, which is The Kiss Quotient. I always doubt myself, by Helen Huang. I have read The Kiss Quotient, and I need to read The Bride Test and The Heart Principle. I haven't read much romance this year, and I feel like a lot of the romance I do read, they become the more like one-offs. So yeah, I'm gonna whiz through the DNFs because there's not I say that there's still quite a few. I'm just gonna whiz through them, okay? So here we go. Ash Princess, DNF. Boring, can't remember anything. Artemis Fowl is too middle grade for me. I think that it would be great for a younger child, but I'm just not a big fan of middle grade. The Traitors game, I was really underwhelmed. I didn't like it. I thought it was bland, boring, and I gave it 2 stars. The Hungry City Chronicles. So this is Mortal Engines, and I thought I was going to love this a lot more than I did, and I don't think it was bad. I just do not think it was interesting enough for me to keep going. Hush Hush. What was I thinking picking this up? I think it was part of a themed vlog that I read that was all about what's the word I'm looking for, Bethany? Like high school YA fiction that I used to read. So yeah, cannot finish that. Shadows Between Us was a book which I actually remember pretty well, but it was just way too full of cliches. It didn't bring anything new to the table for me. Ready Player One, I'm just not interested in the second book. Maybe one day when I've got like heaps of time, or if it crops up in, you know, like a themed reading vlog, then I might read it, but it's not on my list of priorities. Books of Coli by M.R. Carey. Basically, I got sent Book of Coli, like full honesty, and I read it and I liked it. And I got sent the second book, and then I never got around to reading it because like I wasn't in the mood to read it. And then I never got sent the rest of the series, which is totally valid. But I kind of just like lost interest because, God, it sounds like I just said I lost interest in the series because I didn't get sent the third book. Not that. I guess I just lost interest because my sense of, I mean, I guess it is because I didn't get sent the book. This is when, like, Book of Coli was the first book I ever got sent by a publisher, by the way, for context. So I felt a huge moral obligation to read it. I was honest in my review. I did like it. So when they kind of stopped sending me the books, I was like, okay, no moral obligation to read them. Evernight, I cannot even remember reading this book, so that's the thing. The Iron Fae series, I started reading these when I was in high school, and I think it's one of those series where if I went back to it now, I just wouldn't like it. Merciful Crow, I remember reading that first book, but I don't remember much about it. Serpent and Dove, okay, controversial. I liked Serpent and Dove, and I hated Blood and Honey, and so I do not want to read the next ones. Simon Snow, again, I loved Carry On. I hated Wayward Son, so I'm not interested in reading the next one. The Imperium series, so Furyborn is the first one in this book. it was a 5-star predicted book, slight spoiler, it did not live up to expectation. So I just don't want to keep reading it. And then Stephen King's The Gunslinger. This is a huge series, and I guess I'm curious about how the series continues to go, but I have no desire to keep reading because I found the first book slow. I think you can see a theme here, right? It's like I need to be entertained. My attention span, not that it's small, because I can sit and read a book. I can read massive books quite quickly if I love them. But if I don't love a book, if it gives me space for my mind to wander, then it will wander and I just lose all immersion in the series, in that story. I have a huge list of series I want to start, but I think I'm going to prioritize finishing some of these series because, as you can tell, I have a whole bunch on here. So let me know if you want to see series I want to start. Let me know if you have any recommendations. Let me know if there are any series I have mentioned that you think I should prioritize finishing because they are that good. And I will definitely add things to the list. And also let me know if any of these you really want to see me vlog so you can see like my reaction. Happy to do that for you. I'll put a little star next to it on my massive spreadsheet. But other than that, hopefully I've not spoken too fast. I've tried to just get through this. Enjoy all the places to go in your own reading adventures. And I'll see you in the next one. I feel weird I haven't gone off on a tangent.